What is up, guys? 46 here, and today I'm bringing you the rematch of me playing Bagra Army and my opponent, good friend of mine, playing Armor Rush. Yep, it's the rematch. The last game obviously was an absolute wash for him, but let's see how it goes this time. If you're new to the channel, by the way, please do subscribe. I am trying to upload a lot more regularly, so hopefully you enjoy that content. More gameplay of Bagra Army coming out throughout the week. Anyways, the game's going off pretty well for me to start off with. I have found at least a tamer, which is pretty good. And I've also got a pretty strong board as is, swinging with the Digimon, and also, also putting stuff underneath the U straight away. The problem is that my first swing ended up being a set to 3 tamer, and that is very unfortunate. Because essentially one of the biggest weaknesses of Bagra Army, in my opinion, is the fact that if they do have a set to 3 tamer, essentially you kind of just don't do anything, because like your main gimmick is to get rid of sources to gain memory, but unfortunately if they have 3, it's really hard to do that. So he gets to swing with the fire rocket, does 2 checks, ends up killing his armor form, which is pretty good, but still, I've got a pretty big board here, got a lot of rush potential, so I'm going to swing into the Vmon just so I can control the field a little bit further. I'm going to swing with the Digimon, it's going to die to the Magna X, and then I'm going to activate some effects. So I'm going to add draw 1 to discard 1, then I'm going to go Digimon to save underneath the Uemano, and then I'll gain a memory and draw an additional card. And yeah, I'm at quite a lot of memory at this point. And I think at this point I quickly realised, because my hand is pretty huge, I just kind of want to rush down. So I put down another Uemano because they do stack, and it allows me to gain even more memory if I need it on the following turn. And also just play a Gabumon just so I can rush down a little bit further. So he hard plays the Madleomon, and then he hard plays the Vmon, and then Madleomon triggers, which allows me to trash 1 to discard 1, and also get a memory. So it goes to my turn now, and yeah, I've got quite a big advantage here for sure. So I'm going to swing with the Soundbirdmon. I didn't realise, but a commenter mentioned that this is not actually a Bagra Army card. I cannot believe it, quite frankly. But it's not a Bagra Army card. So I'm going to swing, it dies, so I get to save. I gain another memory, which is really good. And then I'm going to swing with the Madleomon, hit a Vmon, and then it's all clear. And then I'm going to go for the Hybrid 4 game. And so we go into the second game, and my opponent gets to start off first, and this is what I kind of realised is probably the worst thing about Bagra Army, is that you kind of have to go first, because you essentially want to hard play the Madleomon to disrupt on your opponent's turn, or the Troopmon, but mainly the Madleomon because it has a reduced cost. So here I actually get a pretty good start. I get the Soundbirdmon in raising, I have the Madleomon, and I also have the Uemano. But unfortunately, I just don't, as it's past turn 1, he's not really going to hard play things if he knows that Madleomon can interrupt it. So, I can't really do much about that. And unfortunately, he has the Lydramon, which really sucks. So, I'm going to get a memory and draw a card, and then he's going to swing a security, it dies, and then he's going to go into the Golden Lord now. I really messed up with this card. I didn't realise that the card says that you just take the top card from this Digimon to, put it on top of the security stack. Didn't realise this, and that's pretty bad, to say the least. So I'm going to swing a security. He lets it through, shockingly. For some reason, I didn't activate the effect to put a purple Digimon under Uemano, so that's annoying. But I'm going to pass him to 1, and essentially this Magna X is going to become a really big problem because I can't really attack over it unless it's like Tactimon and Blastmon. so I'm not in a good position here. He's obviously fighting all of his pieces, and that's a problem. So I have the Eismon scatter mode out, and I kind of just want to thin my deck a little bit. But I'm going to use Buzzing Fist first to thin the deck of the Bagra armies. I'm going to trash 2, and then also put one underneath, which allows me to gain a memory and draw a card. So I'm building up that stack, ready to potentially deal with the Magnet X. And so this is where I misplay, I believe. I'm going to play, because I'm just counting how many there are. I play Death to Cannon here. And this is where I found out that, oh yeah, it actually just goes to the top and the Lydramon stays. So I was kind of like, well, that is a bit problematic. And so at this point, I kind of just knew that I was pretty much losing this game, because he only needs to have one more security attack. And I don't know, man. My opponent really good at getting Fire Rocket when he needs it. So he's going to promote. He's got the Fire Rocket. He's going to swing twice. Death to Cannon does save me here. Allows me to stop the one of the VMons from attacking. So that's good, at least. He then goes into another VMon, so I have to deal with a huge board here. And at this point, I'm quickly realizing that the only real answer that I have in my deck is Death X. The problem is, at this point, is that I'm playing 2, and one of them just went into the trash. So, not too sure what to do in this situation. I've got 2 memories, so I can't really do much about it. But at this point, I'm just trying to thin the deck to see if I can actually find the Death X-Mon. So I'm just calculating, well, not the odds, but just looking at, just making sure that I actually have one in deck, because obviously the security's gone now. So just thinking about my options to potentially thin the deck. And so I think the first thing I'm going to do here is swing with the Eismon scatter mode into the Flamedramon. And the reason why I do that is because if I swing into security, it might not die. So essentially that means I just miss out on potential draws that might win me the game. So here I draw 3 and then discard 2. Obviously I am looking for the Death X, and yeah, if I obviously swing at security here, potentially it won't hit into something, and that means I don't get the search. So that wouldn't be good. I'm going to swing Soundbirdmon into the Flamedramon to do it again, to put one underneath a Tamer and draw a card. Draw another card because of Uemano, and it's going to die. So we're going to put underneath the other Uemano, and then I'm going to draw and discard for the Demi-Meramon. So I have 4 memory to go off here. The problem is that I'm just worried that I potentially might not be able to do much about this. So I play a Buzzing Fist here to see if I can do anything. I have the Blastmon, which is pretty nice, but unfortunately I kind of have to play around and hopefully get a big stack, essentially. Because I could potentially, at this point, it'll be lower to 3, but the problem is that I need a follow-up as well. So, not great in this situation for sure. So I'm just calculating to see what I could potentially do at this situation. In a weird way, I think maybe the not adding the Soundbirdmon earlier actually really messed me up, because I could have potentially played Blastmon and Tactimon in the same turn, which is, you know, you don't want that to happen really. So I'm just thinking about what I need to do here, and at this point I should definitely just scoop. Like, I don't think I found the answer. It's obviously still in the deck. Can't really do much about it, unfortunately, at this point. So I'm just trying to think if there is an actual potential out. So I go for the reduction of 1 to go into the Tactimon, and then I block. Essentially what I need to do is that if he plays, I put one underneath for the Digicross requirement. If he plays like another Digimon, it will swing into my turn. So he just has to play around that, and he clearly knows. He has the Hammer Spark, and he figured it out, unfortunately, because they are both blockers, so I can block both of them. Yep, so I block them, and then it swings for game. getting into the third and final game now, and I get to start off first, and I go into the play that I know the best, which is Mad Leomon. Basically reduces his potential chance of finding things that he needs, and what do you know, he adds the Flame Dramon, and I get to use Mad Leomon effect, which allows me to discard a Digisource, and he has to discard a card. And he discards a Lydramon, which I was kind of surprised at, because I felt like that is like a key card, especially in this matchup. So quite interesting that. So I swing a Security. I don't have a Tamer, unfortunately, but goes to his hand. And, you know, it's not bad having another body on board. It's just kind of unfortunate. And then, I don't know why I don't swing with the Mad Leomon here, but I go into the Eismon to give him one. He's going to, I believe, swing at Security with the jamming one, and it's the Tamer. Thank goodness, because I couldn't find a Tamer in my opening hand, and I don't know when I'll be able to find one in the deck. So, that's the reason why I Digivolved into the Eismon Scatter mode, to just try and increase the odds of finding the Tamer. And so he goes into the Vmon, EX-1 Vmon on play. And then I'm going to swing into the Vmon to get rid of more threats. I'm going to swing into with the Eismon Scatter mode. And then this is where I get to do a pretty big stack of drawing and discarding. And yeah, you need this in the deck because essentially there's going to be times where you just brick. And you definitely don't want to brick with this deck, because if you brick, you probably lose. So I guess it's just in every case, to be fair, but you know what I mean. In this deck, it's really bad if you break. And so I'm just considering my options now. I have 2 memory, and so I'm going to just... It's a bit of an interesting what I'm going to do here, because I don't know if this was the right move, but I wanted to apply some more pressure, because essentially what could potentially happen next turn is that I could potentially go into a Blast one on the following turn. And so he has the Flame Dramon, swings twice. I get the Death to Cannon, which is quite lucky, I'd say. Had another U in Mono in hand anyways, so it was just kind of sorting that out, essentially. And so he's getting his turn by going to another Vmon, and then he adds the Magnet X. And so I have a pretty good chance of ending it this turn. But I'm going to play it safe here. I'm going to delete the other Vmon, because essentially I need to get rid of them, because, well, if I don't, then I'm in trouble. And so I'm going to discard, add the Tacti, and then put a Damimon to gain a memory and draw a card here. And so now I believe I'm going to swing at Security. And then it gets deleted, so I get to draw one, then discard one, and then save underneath. So at this point I've got a pretty nice stack. I'm going to play Buzzing Fist again to add the only card that I can, which is the U, because it has in its traits, and then I'm going to put one underneath. And this is where I have to be very defensive. And I have to make a choice, because essentially, obviously if I knew that I could get the stack of 3 underneath Uemano, I would obviously like swing for game here. However, I wasn't too sure if I was be able to. There's obviously things in Security like the you know, just loads of effects that could potentially happen that can interrupt this kind of play. So I'm just thinking here, like, what is the out for him, essentially, because I need to have a blocker out. But Blast 1 has an effect where if your opponent swings, you can delete level 4 or lower. So it just really depends on if he has a armor or 2 armors. Because if he has 2 armors, I pretty much lose here either way, because one of them is probably going to be the Lydramon. So I go into Blast mode, last one here. So I'm going to swing a Security. It is a Tamer, but obviously I didn't know that at the time, so I was just playing safe. Maybe a bit too safe here. But essentially now I'm just playing around armors. So he has a lot of memory though, so we'll see how he goes. He has the Lydramon. Nothing to suspend, obviously. And he swings with the Vmon, and this is his mistake. if he didn't swing with the Vmon, he would have been able to get away with this, because I think he told me he had another armor in hand anyways, which really sucks. So he swung and then used Blast One's effect to detach a Digievolution and then delete level 4 or lower. Obviously, I'm deleting the one that is attacking because it doesn't have Armor Rush. And so now he needs another Digimon to get through the security. And so he plays it safe by going into the Magna X. And he swings in security, and the last card is a Blastomon. How unlucky, quite frankly. Like, he goes Ice Wall, and then he goes a Vmon, gives me 3. And at this point, it is game. I just have to swing twice. First check, obviously, is that, and the second check is that, and that is game.